Awesome. Hi guys, this is Stephans here, and I want to walk you through how a meeting with a financial advisor looks like. On the screen is my um, it's my screen, the app, the Advise Plus app that I will be using as your financial advisor to enter your details as we just have the conversation, have the chat, and as I analyze your financial situation. So a meeting with a financial advisor is free, and I want to make this presentation fast and straight to the point for you. I want to have a pretend client today, and the pretend client's name is Tando Mgomezulu. And suppose I have a client called Tando Mgomezulu. He is a graphic designer, and he is working for Beans Graphics, and he's earning 40,000. So when I sit down with Tandem Gamazulu, suppose we had a call, I called him, and or he called me and asked for this meeting, or he sent an email, whichever way brought us here. So first of all, a meeting with a financial advisor is free. There are advisors that are managing higher assets than normal, like 50 million worth of assets, some 100 million worth of assets. Those ones might charge you because they learned secrets in the industry to give you higher interest rates, and they are worth that much. But you can be comfortable with, for us, a meeting with an advisor is free. So when I sit down with Tando, and it's very casual, it's have to make sure that everybody is comfortable. It can be physical, it can be through Teams. As you can see, my Teams app is open. It can be at a coffee shop, it can be in a restaurant, it's our choice. So in this app, Advice Plus, that I use for Tando, I have to enter his name, his ID. This app pulls Tando's information from the government's database when I enter his ID number. So it makes it helpful for both of us. And yeah, there's also like more details where I enter information about Tando's occupation and his employer, Beans Graphics, and the degree that he has. Guys, whether you're educated or not is important for the actual science guys that we work with at Liberty. They use this to determine your premium. Educated people pay less premium because they argue that they can afford things that make them safer so that they don't die so fast. Your smoker status, whether you have a medical aid or not, or whether you're self-employed or not, guys, this matters. But everything else on my left is just your personal information. So yeah, Tando, that was his background. When I sit down with Tando, yeah, I want to know his net worth. So in order to know his net worth, I need to know his assets and his liabilities. But before I talk about that, I want to talk to Tando about something I need him to understand. So as your financial advisor, this is a risk financial assessment. What that means is we are not talking about investments. We're not talking about growth. We're not talking about conquering the world in your life with your wife, with your girlfriend. No, we're talking about the risk areas. There are 4 risk areas in life. If you died, currently Tando, you are a graphic designer, 40,000, and you told me that you have a girlfriend, and you are in the happy moments of your relationship, plus you're also in the happy moment of your career. Come on, that's twice the happy moments. She died, Tando. Oh, you said you have a child on the way with your girlfriend. Nice. If you died right now, she is so used to the privileges that your salary is bringing to the family. So Tando, if you died right now, that would end for her. That would stop for her, and she would not be able to enjoy those anymore. So that's a risk area. That's a risk that you, as a man, as a parent, as a husband, need to think about and make a decision. Tando, if you got ill, if you, let me just say disabled, if you became disabled, disability means you can't perform your job anymore. Tando, if you can't perform your job anymore, unfortunately, your employer, Beans Graphics, has got to let you go and put somebody else there. So if you got disabled and cannot perform your job, it's the same situation. Your wife, your family, and yourself will not be able to be receiving the same income anymore. Would you like to prepare for that, or rather think about that? It's something to think about. The reason I say it's something to think about is because this meeting is not only free, it's also non-obligatory. You'll see at the end of it, I'll download a report for Tando and I'll give it to him. And this is something that he goes and sits down and talks with his wife about. So Tando, that was the second risk area that I told you. The first one was if you died. The second one was if you became disabled. The third one is if you became critically ill. Critical illness is something that's very expensive for people. This talks to the cancer or some terminal disease. That is, even if you can still perform your job, this thing is so expensive with the doctor that not only is your salary now going to the doctor, but you are even taking loans to pay for the treatment of the cancer or whatever it could be. When I talk to my client, I like to ask, is there a history of cancer in your family, some terminal disease, some liver disease, some brain tumor? Look at your history. You tell me. You know more than me. And in this situation, let's pretend that our pretend client, Tandom Gomezulu, says that there's no history of terminal illness in his family. But it's something to think about. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm just expounding the areas that we work with. So those three first ones are the ones that we'll be looking at here at the risk financial analysis. As you can see, my mouse is circling around. And so that was if you died, your wife, what's she gonna do? Are you prepared for that? That's if you became disabled and can't do your job. You still want a salary, right? Think about that. You want a salary product with liberty. If you became critically ill, would you be able to pay that for yourself, or would you rather Liberty steps in and pay those medical expenses for you instead? So with a company like ours, it goes like this. It's either you work or we work. So now you're working, Tando. You are healthy young man who is not even a smoker. That's interesting. So you're healthy, you're vigilant, you're alive, you're young, and you're bringing money into your family. That means you're working, and as you can see, there's birds flying around your house. There's your car right there. And it means things are going well. You're able to provide for your family. You see, so it's either you work or we work. If you ever became unable to work because life happens, if maybe you died, if maybe you became disabled, if maybe you became critically ill, that's where my company works. So if you've had a product with us, a relationship with us, I say relationship because you'll notice that by law, actually, I'm required to meet with you at least once a year to review your situation. If something happened, if you gave birth to a child, if you had another child, if you have another goal, I have to be there with you. So if you have a relationship with this company, whenever you stop being able to work, the products that you chose with the company, then they start to work for you. If you have a life cover with the company, if you died, now the life cover brings income to your family for you. So it's either you doing the work or your insurance company doing the work for you. So Tando, let us look at your net worth. Please tell me about your assets. So when I sit down with Tando, he talks to me. He tells me that my financial advisor. First, I like to ask about a primary residence. So there are three assets that are very important. Number one is your house. Do you have one? And Tando tells me that he has a house in Rivonia because his girlfriend likes Rivonia. And he also likes Rivonia. So, plus he has a nice job. He's 25 years old, but he has a nice job. So I can say, Well, what's the market value would you estimate, or your real estate agent, what do they say about the market value? And as you can see here, the primary residence is 2.4 million. Awesome. So your primary residence is important for me to know your net worth when it comes to assets. Your vehicle is important for me to know. As you can see down there, we got vehicles. His vehicle is 400,000. Maybe he's driving a Polo or an Omoda. Our pretend client tells me that he drives an Omoda. And the third thing that we like to know is furniture. Like, do you have laptops that are worth something that if you died today, you can sell them, You'll understand when I start talking about estate duties, because if you die, you still pay some taxes and all your liabilities. So the reason I ask about your assets, even your furniture, is that there are some people that you owe that if you died, they can even come after your laptops and your couches and your sofas, your smart TVs, your smart fridges, your stoves, you see. So that's why I care about assets down to the laptop and the table in your house. So he estimates his furniture at about 200,000. So he bought a few, TVs and things in his new house in Rivonia. Good for Tando. So assets can also include a savings account that you have, an investment account, things like this. So I can delete that because it's essentially nothing. Yeah, so this is Tando's net worth. So Tando has assets of 3,085,000. Guys, don't be too shocked. I know he's young. He bought most of these by loan. So that's why you also look at his liabilities. As you can see right there, he's paying back the bond. And he still owes 2.1 million on his bond in Rivonia, which he bought for 2.4 million. So he also bought a car for 400,000. He still owes 300,000 on that. I can get this statement from his bank. And after seeing that, I can get an image of his assets, an image of his liabilities. That's where they are. And by looking at Tando's situation, I understand that his net worth is 685,000. Well, that kind of he's not in the negative. That's good. So talking to the second part that I'll ask Tando about is his income and expenses, down to the monthly situation. Tando tells me that at his job he earns 40,000, right? He earns 40,000 at Beans Graphics. That's awesome. And I want to get an idea of his monthly expenses. So as you can see at the top, per month he's paying 10,000 to pay back that house that he just bought in Rivonia. And if you can look at, first of all, like I said, we look at the house, the car, and the grocery, the monthly expenses. So for his house that he bought, he's paying 10,000, and every month. For his car, he's paying 6,000. It's not it's 6,000, as you can see right there. The higher purchase the vehicle, it's 6,000. And Tando tells me that he's paying insurance on the vehicle. It's 1.6 thousand, and groceries. His monthly expenses are up to 3,000 because it's just him and his girlfriend, and the child on the way is not yet an expense for them. So there's other expenses, like when you sit with your financial advisors, you just express them for them so that they can understand. So considering your income, considering your expenses, and my app here shows me, because it calculates this 40,000 net income after tax, gross income after tax. His net is 32,161. So his 32,161 after his expenses of 23,032, he has a surplus, a disposable income, money to blow, essentially, of 9,129. This surplus tells me the products from Liberty that he can afford. You remember I talked to you about the risk areas. The risk areas are if you died, if you became disabled and can't do your job, if you became critically ill, and will have to pay so much for your disease. This tells me the products that you can afford for these risk areas. Like if you died, you want a life cover, your wife to be covered. If you became ill, you want a disability cover, things like this. We'll talk about them. There's many options, I have to, by law, I'm required to give him all the options so that he can choose a few or just a single one, whichever one that is comfortable with him. So I have to look at his affordability so that I know. And at 9,000, he can afford a lot, because some premiums can be like 200 rands a month. Some can be 400 rands a month. Some can be as cheap as 100 rands, it depends on the product. So here is just to get an idea of his disposable income. When I sit down with Tando Mngomezulu, I ask him, Tando, now that we've looked at your net worth, now that we've looked at your income and expenses, your disposable income, what's left, now I want to know your goals, the risk areas that I told you about. I want to know your goals. Tando, if you died at death, what income per month would you like to go to your wife? If you died and you no longer you're not there to bring them the provision that you're currently giving them. Tando says, well, we're living in Rivonia. It's a nice life. It's not the greatest in the world like some have it out there, but it's okay. I believe that my wife has become used to some privileges. I think 10,000 a month would be okay. So as you can see, I have already entered them. Otherwise, I can enter right now. I say, okay, Tando wants his wife to receive 10,000 a month if he died. That's awesome. But what about a lump sum? A capital amount, a once-off payment. Maybe your wife will have to pay back some debts. Maybe she would like to, pay for your funeral. Just a lump sum that could help her if you suddenly died right now. Tando says 500,000 will be okay. Because Tando, it's very good to plan for these things. It's very good to think about them. I mean, back in the day, as African people, when we were broke, we were not planning for these things. Things just happened. It was society, it was church. There was a lot of assistance. But now that we are participants in the economy, everybody's watching their own personal economy. It's important to think about it and plan. Tando says 500,000 will be enough. Okay, we spoke about disability. If you became disabled right now and you can't do your job, you're not getting a salary anymore, what income would you like to be coming to your bank account per month? If you became disabled, Tando says 5,000 a month will be okay. I can see Tando is not greedy. Some clients would say 15,000, No, it's understandable. It's okay. I would advise him for more, obviously. Why? Because he's still paying for the house. It depends on your expenses. You got to look at your expenses. But it's fine. He does have 200,000 capital that he desires. Okay, this third one, the first 24 months, if you became disabled, Tando, how much would you like? So this is the first client meeting, These are the questions that I'm asking. Normally, when I sit down with you and I'm talking to you, you start to feel like it's a normal conversation. People forget that we're actually picking up important information. But don't forget, even if you forget, it's okay. I'm taking the notes for you. It's not general conversation. I am actually writing things down. If you became disabled in the first 24 months, how much would you like to be paid a month? Nah, Tando says it's fine. The first 5,000 that I already picked is enough. Tando, is there any critical illnesses in your families? I like to know that. Like suppose some dread disease, something horrible, something that's so expensive, if it happened, you'd have to pay so much. Is there any history of cancer in your family, or liver disease, or like a brain tumor, things like this? Tando says no. Not my place to talk. But if you feel that there's no history of critical illness in your family, that's perfect. I'm going to click next now, and we will come to existing provisions. Tando, do you currently have any policies, right? Do you currently have any policies with other financial providers, maybe clientele, maybe Discovery, Invest Tech, things like this? Do you currently have any life policies with anybody else? Tando told me, Guti, this is my first meeting with a financial advisor. I never knew that it's free, so I didn't do it. But now I have no policy. Awesome, Tando. That's okay. Anytime is a good time to start. So I go to the next one, talking about investment policies. That's me saying, okay, Tando, you don't have a policy, but you have a job. So since you have a job, it's likely that your employer has set something in place for you to have when you retire. Not only when you retire, but if when you retire, but even if you get retrenched, things like this. So I write it down. You work for Beans Graphics. So I believe your employer has a Beans graphic retirement fund. So your current value, this information I can get from your salary pay slip. So I can see that you're currently paying 1,000 a month towards that retirement fund. Anyway, if you retire, you're gonna get that. So I'm just trying to get a picture of your current provisions. Okay, so this app just took me to a whole other place, but I'm gonna get to the place that we were in just a moment. Okay, so I'm just trying to get an idea of Tando's current provisions. And I see here that, with his employer, he does have something, and the current value is 50,000. Okay, here I want to know, as part of his assets, do you have any savings account, an investment account, a tax-free savings? And Tando says, yep, I have something with Standard Bank. The current value is 85,000. And okay, yeah, that's that. And then I move on to the next one. Still having a conversation with Tando, but as you can see, for the risk for death, disability, and critical illness, it can show me how prepared Tando is. So the reason he's 100% prepared for critical illness is because he says there's no history of critical illness in his family. So there's no goal or objective. So there's nothing he has to put in place. So him having 79,000 in place just makes him over prepared. So, but when it comes to things like death, if he died, he said he'd like for his wife to receive 500,000. As you can see, my app has considered inflation increments for his wife to get exactly 500,000 in that time, in that future. So that one is really not prepared for it. He's only 11% prepared for it because maybe we're considering the benefit that his employer is giving him. Anyway, that was the first part for risk. I had to know your net worth. I had to know your income and expenses. I had to know your objectives and your goals for these risk areas. And then I get a summary. And don't worry about this summary. I'm going to print one for you that you are going to understand very quickly. So now we are going to your living life analysis. It's the last one. Because we could talk about investments, but why would I let my client invest all his money before he is covered? You see, insurance means that you're gonna get your money when this risk occurs. So we cover against the risk. So we can talk about investment, but I like to talk about investments after I've done a risk analysis first. So as you can see, my client, that's his name there. Now we're going to living life plan, and it's pretty similar. It's a bit fast. Like I said, we can do this meeting on a coffee, or we can do it via Teams or Zoom. So now we're doing living life plan. Living life talks about your goals in life and your retirement plan, So this is Tando's net worth. His net worth is 685. You've heard things like Jay-Z's net worth is $1 billion, or such and such person's net worth is such and such. Is because they've sat down with their financial advisor and they were able to determine that. Let me pause this video and we'll meet on a second one. I just don't want it to be too long so that you can see this video and just continue on the last one. I hope it's short.